Hello, my name is Kevin Holton, and we did our project on sensory evaluation of different hard ciders. Hard cider production in the United States has become a very popular thing to see. There are many different varieties of apples that are used to make hard cider, from dessert apples to crab apples. Cider apples are categorized in 4 different ways. There's sweet, which are low in acidity and low in tannins. There's also sharp, which are high in acidity and low in tannins. Bittersweets, which are low in acidity and high in tannins, and bitter sharp, which are high in acidity and high in tannins. For a quality cider, it's usually a mixture of many different apple varieties of these different categories that make up a good cider. There are many factors that add to the quality and the flavor characteristics of hard cider. The 2 most important factors are the apple variety and the yeast that are used. For quality characteristics, most people prefer a cider that is not very bitter, so a low level of bitterness is typically what people aim for when making a cider. For our project, we decided that we wanted to compare 4 different attributes: sweetness, dryness, effervescence, and apple flavor between 4 different ciders that we found. We figured that these 4 attributes were easy to detect and easy for our panelists to understand and rate on a scale of intensity. For our tests, we gathered 20 panelists. 12 were men and 8 were women. After interviewing them for a brief period of time, we found that the cider consumption among this group was very low. The participants tended to choose beer or hard alcohol over cider, and the panelists did not report any ailments or conditions that would prevent them from being able to do this test well. We had 4 different controls for each attribute, and each control was assigned a random 3-digit number. For sweetness, we used apple juice, which was assigned number 165. For dryness, we used Chateau Ste. Michelle's dry Riesling, which was assigned number 932. For effervescence, we gave them generic brand lemon and lime soda, which was assigned number 669. And for apple flavor, we used Angry Orchard crisp apple cider, which was given the number 502. Each panelist was asked to evaluate the intensity of every sample that was given to them. In between each sample, we made sure to give them water so they could clean their palate, and so that any residual sugars or whatnot would not be carried over to the next sample. Each sample was evaluated for the 4 attributes on a 15 centimeter scale, exactly like we did for the control, so they had a benchmark of what they thought was sweet, dry, etc. Then we did a statistical analysis of the data, which was performed using ANOVA and mean separation using Fisher's LSD. For this test, we used 4 different hard ciders. The first cider was Square Mile Cider Hopped Hard Cider, which is assigned the random numbers of 362. This cider has a 6.7 alcohol volume with an addition of Galaxy hops. The next cider we used was Smith & Ford's Hard Cider, which was assigned the number 957, which had a 6% alcohol level. The third cider we used was Rambling Root Cider, which was assigned number 210, and it was 6.9% alcohol, and that was the highest alcohol we had for the test, and it also provided with a 2.6 residual sugar, which was nice to see. The last cider we used was the Crispin Natural Hard Cider's Classic English Hard Cider, which was given the number 520, and this had an alcohol rating of 5.8%. This graph shows the Square Mile Cider's hop cider results from the test. As you can see, the blue is sweetness, orange is dryness, gray is effervescence, and yellow is the apple flavor. On the x-axis, you can see we have the panelist number, and the y is intensity ratio. We did this out of 1. And as you can see, the results vary among panelists a lot. Especially for sweetness, you can see that some people had it rated at about a 0.9, where others had it about a little below 0.2, which shows that there's a huge range in perceived sweetness throughout it. The same goes with dryness. As you can see, the line and numbers are just all over the place, as well with effervescence and apple flavor. These are the results for the Smith & Forge hard apple cider, and as you can see again, the difference between panelists is pretty big. It is a little more organized than the Square Miles cider, but again, sweetness, dryness, effervescence, and apple flavor vary a good amount between each panelist. Here we have the results for the Rambling Root cider, and again, the variance between panelists is pretty huge. You can see that some people rated apple flavor as none, while others almost had it to about 80%. That's a huge difference, and again, you can see that it changes all over the board for sweetness, dryness, effervescence, and apple flavor. These are the results for the Crispin Natural Hard Cider, and as you can see again, the difference between panelists is quite big. Everything again from sweetness, dryness, to effervescence, to apple flavor is all over the place. This one is a little more organized. The difference between panelists is not as big as it has been for the other ciders, but again, you can see that there is a big difference in perception among the panelists. After conducting the test and looking at our results, we realized how important training is when it comes to sensory tests like this. We definitely needed to train the panelists more. We did train them initially with giving them controls and having them rank them on the same blind scale that they tested on. However, I don't think we confirmed these tests with them, which led them to have a huge variance in their response. I think a lot of this has to do with a lot of the participants not being cider drinkers. There's a lot of attributes of cider that are not found in beer, and the other thing is cider varies in a lot in these attributes. Like when we were trying some of these ciders out first to see if they'd be good to test for, they were all very different from each other, and I think this could have possibly been what may have thrown them off. The other thing is that when we were testing them, we needed to confirm that they knew what like dryness was or sweetness, and we need to repeat it more so we can make sure they were concise with their answers. I think that not giving them enough time to do this and kind of moving faster through the training than we should have has been part of the reason why our results came out the way they did. There are many things that we could have done to improve the test that we would definitely do in the future if we were to conduct a test like this in the future. One of the things would be to recruit cider drinkers as panelists, because people that are cider drinkers are going to be a lot more adept and easier for them to pick up the differences between the ciders for the different attributes we were testing for, and I think that's definitely one of the reasons why the results were so varied. And definitely, like I mentioned before, we need to have much more intensive training to make sure that they are being accurate with their results and they're very precise, and when we repeat the test to them that they're getting the same answer each time and not varying it so much. I think this would help a lot in minimizing the variance throughout the panelists. That is the end. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I want to thank you, Carolyn Ross, for a great semester. It was a really fun class and I learned a lot. I also look forward to participating in many of your sensory evaluation tests in the future. Can never say no to some free food or free drinks, so thank you.